Hello. Okay, so in theme with my literary review, where I've been studying heavily the background and standards for ethical design, for my argument, I would like to push the idea of pursuing community-driven design as designers. I have found that small towns and big cities alike benefit heavily from community-driven design, and in an effort to go along with the new sort of movement of social designers being socially aware, I think it's something we need to start reconsidering as designers. So with that, we're going to revisit Ken Garland's First Things First manifesto real quick, just as a reminder that this concept is not entirely new, but I think with the ever-changing technology and fast-paced movement of how marketing is working now and how designers are becoming more problem solvers than just visually aesthetic revolving people, we need to consider that designing for corporate media is not the only thing that is important. In fact, it's really not what's important. It makes us money, it pays the bills, but when it comes to contributing to the daily life of not only ourselves but our communities and the people around us, we need to consider pulling back from that corporate establishment design and doing what we can to benefit our surroundings. Now, you might be asking, why do I care? You might think design is a career choice, right? It's not a moral obligation. The way I make my money shouldn't defend my moral code, or my moral code shouldn't have to defend my job, right? It's how I make my money. Well, you can look at it that way, and every designer has to make that choice for themselves. As we've discussed before, you make a moral and ethical decision when you choose who you're going to work for as a designer. But let's look at it this way. I'd like to ask, have you ever enjoyed a local coffee shop? Maybe every morning before you go into work, you stop by, you know your barista, they know your order because you come in every day. Maybe you've met some of the locals this way. If not that, maybe you go to a local bar where you know everyone there, even though you maybe don't actually know them in your daily lives. You know them through this bar. There's this sense of community among the mentality of that bar. And if not that, maybe the local farmers market, which is a huge community effort to put on. And in turn, I mean, a lot of smaller towns and even bigger towns, there is a huge community around a farmers market. It's how you get to know your local business people, your local farmers, where your food's coming from. It's a great resource for everyone, right? So I'd like to argue that everyone benefits from community design. If you can say that you have experienced or benefited from any of those three examples, and I could probably name 1,000 more, then you have benefited from community-driven design, right? So it's not just about the people around you. It's about benefiting your own life and the life of your peers and your potential, if you have family close, if you have friends that live near you. It's about bettering the lives of the people you interact with daily. So you might be asking, okay, what exactly is community-driven design? Well, it's a multitude of things. First off, community-driven design can help build local economy. It can also address and mend issues within a community. So not just promoting local businesses, but say you might notice that local transportation, the metro, the signage isn't very good and people are always getting confused and getting lost. This is something that as a designer, you could use your problem-solving skills to help mend and make better for the lives of the people. Now, community-driven design doesn't always promote your local community. It could also promote a cause or mentality, thus creating a sense of community. So think of like breast cancer awareness or saving the rainforest. It may not be your physical direct community, but it's a cause or something that you and a body of people care about that would typically not be of corporate means. And lastly, community-driven design really just improves the quality of life of the community. So if you're pursuing a project that helps people outside of a corporation or establishment sort of campaign, then you are doing some kind of community-driven design. With all that, you might be asking, how do I get involved? Well, there's a really great source that I've discovered, Designing for Social Change, Strategies for Community-Based Design, written by Andrew Shea. And this book really beautifully lays out a 10-step program not program, but a 10-step way to get more involved in communities and create successful design that will help benefit them in the long term. And by pursuing a design that's going to benefit the community in the long term, that is, I think, partially what makes it so ethical, is that you're not just pursuing a community-driven design, say, for a competition or to better your portfolio. You're actually seeking out a solution to help people that will benefit them. So we're going to run through the list, and I'm not going to go through every single detail. I'm going to paraphrase for the sake of time and everything else, because it is quite a lengthy process. But if you wanted to look up the book, it's available online, and it's a really great source. So step one, immerse yourself. You need to be involved in the community. You need to understand the community. You can't change the community if you don't understand it, right? You can't know what the problems are. This comes from being physically involved with your community and also being able to take a step back and view your community, view the issues, and do some research. Once you've done that, you need to build trust. Ways you can build trust, I would say you need to start small. Build a new logo for the local mom and pop shop, or the local restaurant maybe needs a new menu that's more effective. Show the people that you have the skill to help them resolve issues that they have within their local businesses that can then benefit them, financially. And typically, yes, this involves doing it pro bono or for a small fee, but that's the whole point of this. Doing things that you care about and taking the hit, right? Because this isn't going to be your day job, probably, at least not to start. Once you've built trust, you can start getting the community to allow you to maybe get more involved in bigger projects that could be more beneficial. But you have to work your way up. They're not just going to let you in right away, right? They want to know that you actually care about them. With that, you need to be able to promise only what you can deliver. Considering the fact that, yes, like I've said this multiple times, this is a side job, you can't stretch yourself too thin. You have to get involved, do the right research, and establish what you can actually do in the time that is allotted. Now, if you don't have a huge time limit, you can probably do more. It's up to you. But with that, you also need to prioritize your process. And I could actually argue that prioritizing your process should come first, because you need to look at your process and what you need to do before you can essentially promise what you can deliver. But either way, those two steps could probably intermingle. Once you've done that, you might find some controversy in the issue, especially when dealing with communities. People are very proud, people are set in their ways sometimes, and they don't always welcome change. But as a designer and as a professional, you need to be able to combat those issues and professionally state why the research you've done shows that they need to accept the change or the difference in what the project is that you're pursuing. With that, you can also identify the community's strengths. The community is going to have a lot of things that you can pull from and take from to help push a project along more quickly. And with that would come utilizing local resources. With those strengths, you might find people that can help you pursue your project. If you are putting together a local festival, you're going to need people to help you. And as a designer, you may not be the lead, but you need to be able to help push that problem-solving mentality of how do we pull people in? How do we advertise that we need to pull people in? It's all about being a part of the whole process and not just creating something pretty to help people. And you also need to keep the community's voice in mind. This was the really great example that I have highlighted here, is that the author notes that you need to look at the aesthetic of the community. You want to design with the community aesthetic in mind. You want them to feel like they're a part of this project that you're creating, like the feel and vibe of that community reigns through in your design. And with that, you need to give the community ownership. The community is obviously going to contribute to your design because they're going to be helping you along the way with getting research, collecting data. So they need to be feeling confident and proud of the project that you have done for them. They need to feel that they were a part of this, that essentially you were their tool and they were the guiding force in helping you come up with your solution, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that should be the case. You help them come up with a solution, but with their input. After all that, it is very important that you sustain engagement. And has a lot to do with your integrity as a designer and the trust that you built with the community. If you get involved, they're going to seek you again. And if you're not there to respond, it's going to put a damper on their opinion of you and also their ability to continue to solve the problem in the future. Now, if you find that you're unable to continue with a community project, you need to reappoint someone, or you at least need to try to help be a part of that, right? That's the ethical part of this whole thing, is that you need to be a reliable, dependable person. And if you're not, then you are hurting the community in the grand scheme of things. Now, with all that, you may be saying, well, I still just don't know. I mean, how am I going to find a project that I really want to pursue? Okay, AIGA has got you covered. They have got hundreds of resources on how to do good in society. All you have to do is go check out their Designing for Good campaign on their website. So, in conclusion, the argument that I am making is that ethical designers should be designing with the community in mind. I understand that it can't be your day job, and I understand that we all have lives outside of our jobs, but as designers, we've taken all this time to go to school and learn about this skill and this craft that not everybody has. And we should be utilizing that skill and craft for good, for something that means something. If you go to work every day and help design a corporate campaign that just makes a rich company richer, how much are you really contributing to the world? That's the question, right? If you want to feel satisfied about what you do, I would argue that getting more involved with your community and local design and morally conscious design is the way to do it. And with that, one thing we can also consider is if we're going into professions where we're going to be teaching or involved in community-driven things, then we can pass along that mentality as well. It's not all on us. It's about bringing people together to pursue the cause as a whole. We don't need to take all this responsibility on our own, but morally, getting involved is the first step. I hope that this presentation has convinced you of that. Thank you.